Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the four-card fights for UFC Fight Night, Strickland versus Magomedov. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card. So in our first fight, we have in the lightweight division, we got Guram Kutateladze versus Elvis Burner. And how I feel about this one right here is I got Guram Kutateladze lock confidence to beat Elvis Burner. And let's be honest, like, this got to be lock confidence. Like, if Kutateladze can't beat Elvis Burner, all that hype and all this stuff he's getting behind him should just be void. Any chance he ever feels to be elite in this weight class or in this sport should just be void at this point. This is your big opportunity. All this hype, all this skill, it's time to live up to it. Like, you got to win this one. Lock or go home for him. So, yeah, Guram Kutateladze versus Elvis Burner. I just think Kutateladze's bigger. I think he's more technical. I think he can control where this fight goes. I think he's a better wrestler, clearly the better wrestler. I think he can hold his own in the grappling with Burner as well. But again, he can control where it goes in this fight. So even if it's a case, oh, Burner's a little bit better, or Burner's this, Burner's that, like I said, he can dictate the whole pace of this fight on the feet, in the ground, whether like who's scoring the takedown and whatnot. He's the better wrestler. So he has access to the ground, whereas Burner has to rely on Kutateladze initiating or a slip or something like that. So on the feet again, I think Elvis Burner's a decent fighter on the feet, but I feel like he wastes a lot of energy and does a whole lot of useless techniques out there just to fill up the space and fill up time. And Kutateladze just much sharper, much heavier with his shots, and much sharper. I just think he's gonna pick apart Burner on the feet and get him out of there second round. So in this fight, I have Guram Kutateladze via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the heavyweight division, we got Alexander Romanov versus Blagoy Ivanov. And how about this one right here is, I believe I went low confidence here. Yeah, low confidence. I don't know if it's low or average, but either way, it ain't high. So some lower or average confidence, Alexander Romanov to beat Blagoy Ivanov. I'm going decision victory, Romanov to beat Blagoy Ivanov. I think Blagoy Ivanov's a very tough guy, a very experienced guy. But I think Alexander Romanov, at one time had a lot of hype on him in this weight class, but that obviously has faded, and a lot of people aren't high on him going into this fight, and definitely not high on him at all in his career. But I think going against Blagoy Ivanov at this point in his career is not really finishing no one. He's not a high-paced fighter or a high-output fighter, so I think Romanov can have a strong round. And then the rest of the fight just be a slow, sloppy, labored heavyweight fight with not a whole lot of output. Maybe Romanov, being a younger fighter, knowing how his last performance had been, puts in a little bit more effort, throws a little bit more punches, maybe tries to the tired bear hug him against the cage at times, work for some weak takedowns and stuff after he fades out in the first round. But again, going there with Ivanov, who's not doing a whole lot back at him either. Both of them probably mouth breathing, just a hug fest, a sumo fest out there. And Romanov was able to have a strong first round and then just do just enough to eke by the second and third round. Maybe even shuts him out on the scorecard, by the way. Slow labor second and third round after probably a more intense first round of him going for big takedowns. And again, probably not having the greatest success there, but scoring them and getting those big score, probably a big takedown here, or at least get the top position here. And again, a little bit more output on the feet as well in that first round. Then a slow labored hug fest in the second and third with Romanov doing a little bit more to get his hand raised. So in this one, I have Alexander Romanov via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, we got Joe Anderson Brito versus Weston Wilson. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going lock confident Joe Anderson Brito to beat Weston Wilson. Yeah, it speaks for itself. Weston Wilson, just another case of this guy just being brought in because they need a roster spot. Well, need a fight on the card. They need a spot filled. Brito wanted to fight. They just found the weakest guy they could find who wants to fight, and they found Weston Wilson. Like, okay enough guy, as far as you talking about street level, like, the street level or low tier MMA level, like, he's well-rounded enough. But at this level, he just he dog food at this level. His striking's not UFC level, his grappling's not UFC level, his fight IQ not UFC level. I just think Brito's going to be able to just dominate him. And Brito actually has most of his wins by submission. So I think, and Wilson has most of his losses by submission. That's why I'm leaning to submission here. He definitely go out there and just knock him out. But I think Brito go out there, probably crack him some big shots, just suplex him, throw him on the ground. I'm throwing takedowns out there. He obviously not going to suplex him, but, just going to go out there, just manhandle him around, drop heavy ground and pound on him, and make Weston Wilson probably just give up his back so he can choke him out or just give up a limb after getting battered on the ground and just get tapped out first round. So in this one, I have Joe Anderson Brito via first round submission. Now to our next fight we have in the women's flyweight division. We got Ivana Petrovic versus Luana Carolini. I said Carolini. Carolina, and how I feel about this one right here between Luana Carolina and Ivana Petrovic is I'm going low confidence Ivana Petrovic to beat Luana Carolina. I believe it's low confidence, but either way, it ain't high. It's low or average, but the Pacifics don't really matter too much. Going Ivana Petrovic here to beat Luana Carolina. Luana Carolina just kind of in that similar spot a couple fighters I picked last week were in. Like I was trying to lean to them, trying to find an edge angle for them, even though I know that they aren't necessarily winners. And you can't really trust them in these spots like this. And Luana Carolina is no different. You can't trust her in this spot. As a matter of fact, she's probably even less trustworthy than the fighters last week and some other weeks where you try to pick a dog or something and they already have a track record of not showing up. And now I got ESPN apps playing. Like, let me turn my sound off, but I ain't editing that out. ESPN don't try to copyright me. I know everybody be trying to copyright me for random stuff, but hey, I ain't editing that out. It ain't add nothing to the video except distraction. So Ivana Petrovic, Luana Carolina. Yeah, Luana Carolina mostly just a striker. Ivana Petrovic's actually longer and lankier than her, like longer limbs than her, taller, longer limbs than her. And she will mix up takedowns in there. Not saying she's going to have greater success, but I think she can keep the fight very close and then mix some takedowns, edge a decision over Luana Carolina. Probably get some good minutes on top as well over Luana Carolina. But not expecting the greatest performance from either of these women, but I just think Ivana Petrovic is going to be a little bit more diverse, and that's going to be able to get her hand raised over Luana Carolina. So in this one, I have Ivana Petrovic via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's featherweight division, we got Yana Santos versus Carolina, Yana Santos versus Carol Rosa, and how I feel about this one right here is I'm going average confidence Carol Rosa to beat Yana Santos. I think Yana Santos is a decent wall install blanket, but I think where Carol Rosa's issue will be typically, or has been at least somebody that could actually score takedowns on her, not somebody that's going to try to wall and stall her. So I think Carol Rosa, especially after that Sarah McMahon loss and, had a Dumont loss. Dumont loss was striking, but mostly striking. But anyway. But yeah, especially after that Sarah McMahon loss, I think her wrestling will be more improved. And she's going to do a good job to not be walled and stalled. And again, Yana Santos isn't the best offensive wrestler anyway, so she's not going to be all that good at scoring takedowns on her or people in general. So I think Carol Rosa should be able to do well with her. Should be able to get her way off the cage and should be able to pick her apart in the center of the cage and beat her to a decision. It's definitely going to be a lot of wall installing attempts in this fight, but I think Carol Rosa is going to be able to find her way back to the center of the cage and be able to dissect Yana Santos on the feet and beat her by decision victory. So in this one, I have Carol Rosa via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, we got Kevin Lee versus Rinat Fakhretdinov. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going low confidence Rinat Fakhretdinov. Fakhretdinov is still the same guy who, he got actual quality or actual notable or actual respectable wins now, or qualifiable wins now, compared to before he fought Brian Battle, before he fought Andreas Michailidis. But really, Brian Battle is his most notable win. That's his most factorable win, his biggest win. Andreas Michailidis is an underrated fighter and whatnot, so people really don't care too much about that win for him, but that's a pretty decent win for him, especially compared to the level of competition he has beaten before then. Those 1-11 guys, 2-11, 0-11, 2-0, 0-2. Like, look at his record. It's one of the most ugly records I've ever seen in my life. Like, the most hype for the little work done, but at least he's now actually getting good names on his record to actually have a record that don't look like this padded shop joke of a record build up. I don't know what it's called, but clown record he had on there. But yeah, and also like he had everybody that actually had a decent skills had beaten him up until this point when he came into the UFC. Like, he built his record with literally less than tomato cans. It'd be an insult to call these guys cans. Well, it'd be an insult to cans to call those guys he beat cans on his way to the UFC. And like the 7-1 guy beat him. I think the 7-2 guy beat him, but the 0-1, the 0-11 guy, that's the people he was beating. So again, I'm not gonna be high on Rinat Fakhretdinov until he really start to build up a resume. He's starting, but that's why I'm picking him. But still, ain't really impressing him, ain't giving him no confidence. Kevin Lee on the other side, I don't think welterweight's his best weight class. He keep talking about getting bigger and stronger and this and that. You ain't getting any taller. You probably getting a little bit wider. You're lifting better weights, but it's your cardio that needs work. It's your technique and the striking that needs work. Your wrestling's pretty solid. One of the best wrestlers in the game. or was one of the best wrestlers in the game, but your BJJ could be sharper. Again, wrestling cardio could be sharper. Striking cardio, all that cardio could be better. It's not how strong you are. You make the same mistake Johnny Hendricks made, and that's why his career fell off. But welterweight's not his best weight class. He's not on the best momentum. Rinat Fakhretdinov, despite having a trash record for the most part, our garbage filled record, spam folder record. It's actually showing promise, looking better. He had a good performance in Brian Battle. But then again, Brian Battle also has like zero wrestling. So yeah, I'm talking too much, all around the place here. Ultimately, I feel like Rinat Fakhretdinov is the bigger fighter. I don't feel like he's the better fighter, but I feel like he's the bigger fighter. And I feel like he can push a pace, maintain a pace. I feel like Kevin Lee typically dips off. I feel like Kevin Lee going to come out to a strong start. But Fakhretdinov is going to be stronger throughout. Like, he's going to be able to maintain a pace, and Kevin Lee's going to dip off. And then Fakhretdinov going to start to get the takedowns. He's going to start to stuff Kevin Lee's takedowns. Going to be able to walk Kevin Lee down and just outvalue him, outwork him as Kevin Lee starts to fade. And I think he beats Kevin Lee by decision. So in this one, I have Rinat Fakhretdinov via decision. And now to our next fight, we have in our first fight on the main card in the middleweight division, Nursultan Rozoboev versus Bruno Ferreira. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going, I don't know if average or high, but it ain't low. So I'm just going to say average confidence Bruno Ferreira to beat Nursultan Rozoboev. I was not impressed with Rozoboev's record at all. I was not impressed with his level of competition or his track record against his level of competition. He's a well-rounded guy, but feel like his technique is all that sharp or all that good. I feel like a lot of his wrestling technique, not even real clean technique. I feel like he just kind of just muscles things. His grappling, I feel like his grappling pretty sloppy in my opinion. I feel his wrestling's okay. His grappling's sloppy. He kind of just forces and muscles a lot of situations. Striking ain't really nothing on that good either. But hey, he's been able to make it to UFC. He has opportunity against Bruno Ferreira, who at times on the feet can be a little bit sloppy as well. He's the bigger, he's long guy. Ferreira's obviously has probably much more mass on him, but Rozoboev is the longer guy. And, probably can put that length to youths. But ultimately, I feel like I ain't really impressed with his takedown. I ain't really impressed with his top control. I feel like Bruno Ferreira should be able to crack with big shots, should be able to post his will on him, get the top position. And, just neutralize Rozoboev's typical strength advantage he has over people and be the bigger, stronger, the wider, stronger more power lifter of the two. And I think he subs Rozoboev in the second round. I think he's going to out-muscle him, out-technique him. Just avoid committing too much on the feet and allowing yourself to get caught. Just take it to the grappling where I feel he'll have a clear advantage. But mix it up well. Don't just try to muscle it. But mix it in well with some shots, some good punches and kicks. Set him up, drag him to the mat, and then dominate him on the ground, sub him in the second round. So in this one, I have Bruno Ferreira via second round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the lightweight division, we got Benoit Saint-Denis versus Ismail Bonfim. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going lock confidence Ismail Bonfim to beat Benoit Saint-Denis. I feel like Benoit Saint-Denis is a good fighter. He has amazing heart, amazing passion. He can be very aggressive on the feet. He can be, lethal on the feet, depending on who he's fighting against. Got a lot of heart, a lot of grit, solid BJJ, but I feel like Ismail Bonfim has all the wrestling and grappling to shut down his BJJ or shut him down from getting to his BJJ. Then on the feet, Ismail Bonfim is just much cleaner, much more sharper on the feet. Definitely can see his amateur background in boxing on the feet. And Benoit Saint-Denis, like I said, he's aggressive on the feet, but the technique ain't all that sharp. It's just more so he's aggressive. He can be lethal, but it ain't really sharp, clean technique. And I think Bonfim's going to show you the difference. Like, I could say a whole lot, but he could show you in the fight, the big difference between his striking and what Saint-Denis brings out there or presents out there. And I think ultimately Bonfim is going to shut down his the grappling of Saint-Denis or the takedowns and grappling in general of Saint-Denis. If he had to think he's going to pick him apart, and I think he puts him away in the second round. So in this one, I have Ismail Bonfim via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's flyweight division, we got Ariane Lipsky versus Melissa Gatto. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going average confidence Melissa Gatto. I think really my average confidence comes from the fact that I really don't like Melissa Gatto's offensive takedowns all that much. I think they're good enough to get her to where she needs to go with it, but it's not like she's some real D1 wrestler or just has such good takedowns, such good judo or something like that, such a good avenue to get it to the ground. I definitely think Ariane Lipsky on the feet should be able to win this one if Gatto had issues getting to the ground. But also another reason why I'm leaning to Melissa Gatto is the fact that Ariane Lipsky does not have the best track record of against wrestlers and grapplers, so BJJ players, wrestlers. She does not have the best track record against that. And I think Melissa Gatto is one of the best BJJ women she has ever faced. Again, the issue is just more so, where are your takedown skills at? Like, if you can sharpen those up, or if you can find a crafty way of getting this to the ground, it should be easy work for her on the ground. And I'm going to say she's going to sub her. I'm going to go first round sub for Melissa Gatto. I think she's going to find a way on the feet. Maybe when start attacking with length, and maybe Lipsky's going to try to crash in to cover that distance, and maybe end up in a body lock or end up in a clinch position. Then from there, I think Melissa Gatto will probably be able to either attack a body lock, or maybe like go for like a fake a body lock trip just to get Lipsky to give up her back, then maybe do a standing back take, or maybe trip her down from the back position and maybe back mount her or something. And then from there, start to maybe switch to maybe a top mount or something, then work from submission there. But either way, I think it's not going to be like a traditional takedown. It's going to be a combination, a chain of takedowns, like a BJJ wrestling combination of takedown, chain grappling takedown. And I think when she gets to the ground, she's going to be in her element, and Lipsky's going to be out of hers. And I see Gatto tapping her out in the first round. So in this one, I have Melissa Gatto via first round submission. Now to our next fight we have in the welterweight division. We got Max Griffin versus Michael Morales. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going Michael Morales, lock confidence to beat Max Griffin. I feel like Max Griffin has a good shot here, but what really ultimately just shuts down his shot here is I feel like he's just a guy who has always failed in, these good spot opportunities. Like Romanov, he failed. Alex Oliveira, he failed. Who else? He fought a lot of people. I think it was Elias Zaleski dos Santos. I believe it was Elias Zaleski dos Santos. Or maybe it was, by the way, it's been at least 3-4 times he had a decent opportunity to really establish himself in the rankings or fight another guy that was climbing up the rankings. And it seemed like he had a good style to beat them. It was a good opportunity, a good time in his career to beat them. And he failed every single time. Now he's 37. I don't think it's going to be his time to make this big upset. And also, I think Michael Morales overall is the better fighter, but I do think Griffin does have the explosion in him. He does have the power. He does have the experience to be able to find Michael Morales when he's making these, a little bit overconfident, kind of hanging his chin out there. But I think it's going to be a typical Michael Morales performance as far as what we have seen of him from the UFC. Kind of a little bit of a rough start, a little bit, not really an actual rough start, but he don't clean you up early. That's all I'm saying. It's kind of a little filling out process in the first round. Max Griffin is going to be in the fight. It's going to be competitive, but Michael Morales is probably still going to be winning, but it's going to be a little bit competitive in the first round. But then Michael Morales is going to start to touch him a little bit more in the second round. He's going to start to find his timing, and he's going to be able to start to snipe him out a little bit. And then when he start having Max Griffin hurt, I think he puts him away late in the second round. Matter of fact, I'm going to say third round. He typically kind of finishes people second and third. I'm going to say he's third round. Max Griffin has been a tough guy and has not really been truly finished in his UFC career outside that really a positional TKO to Kobe Covington. So he's a tough guy. He's getting up there in age. He's getting to that point where tough guys start to get finished. So I feel like his toughness is going to hold up, but until that third round. And I think in that third round, Michael Morales puts him out. So in this one, I have Michael Morales via third round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in our co-main event in the lightweight division. We got Damir Ismagulov versus Grant Dawson. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going average confidence, Grant Dawson to beat Damir Ismagulov. So, yeah, I did not like Damir Ismagulov's reaction to his loss to Arman Suyakaran. I feel like he just started talking about retirement the moment he lost. Matter of fact, I think he dropped his gloves in the cage or something. Matter of fact, he just started talking retirement or retiring before he even left the cage. And then it's been like a couple months, maybe even close to a year of him, being, basically retired. And now he's coming back. I mean, obviously he's been training, and it probably been less than that because, you had to sign up for the fight, you had to train for the fight and whatnot. You had to contemplate, all that stuff. So it probably was like a good half a year of being unofficially retired. And I think Grant Dawson's a better grappler or a better BJJ player than Arman Suyakaran. I think that's very clear. I don't think he's wrestling, probably pretty close. Matter of fact, he's probably a better wrestler than Arman Suyakaran. But is he a better overall fighter than Suyakaran? I don't think so. But it's not just me saying, Is if he only gonna beat Ismagulov if he's a better fighter than Siakam. That's what I'm not saying. I think Grant Dawson can make the adjustments on the feet so that he can mix in his takedowns. I think once he starts getting takedowns, I think he'll start to really take over this fight. I think early on, Damir Ismagulov going to do a good job to defend the takedowns, do a good job to work behind his jab, really give Grant Dawson something to work with. But I think once the fight starts to settle in more, I think Grant Dawson's going to start to find some good setups on Damir Ismagulov. And I think he will be able to find that takedown, whether he has to work for it hard or just gets that perfect time takedown. But I think he will get that takedown down from once he starts to settle in on the takedown and on the top control and really be able to flatten Ismagulov out and is able to get some sustained control time. I really start to see Ismagulov's confidence start to wane and he starts to go into that quarter mentality yet again. And I think Grant Dawson's just going to start to smother him out there. I'm not going to say he's going to be consistently smothering him, but I think he will start to be able to have more success with his takedowns and then be able to establish top control more and really be able to grind out a decision over Damir Ismagulov. But I do think this will be a tough fight through 3 rounds. But I think once Grant Dawson starts to get that top control, I do start to see the momentum shift heavily in Grant Dawson's favor. And I think he beats Ismagulov in a very close decision. So in this one, I have Grant Dawson via decision. Now to our main event, we have in the middleweight division, we got Sean Strickland versus Abus Magomedov. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going high confidence Sean Strickland. And I can see, the path for Abus Magomedov, or I kind of see the path or the fictional path or hypothetical path for Abus Magomedov, but I just really can't get behind a guy who has no good wins on his record. 25-4-1, no good wins on his record, barely even a good losses on his record, to be honest. And like I say, I lost to this guy. This guy was a former world champion. I lost to this guy. He was this, he was that. I guess I lost to a PFL champion, Lewis Teller, who was like 40 years old, a 40-year-old journeyman. No insult to him. It's the truth. 40-year-old journeyman. And yeah, he knocked me out and retired. That's my biggest name on my record. But it's not like I beat this former champion. I beat this former title challenger. I beat this guy who was on the way up. Or I beat this guy who just was, matter of fact, I sent this guy on the way down. It's like, really his record lacks substance. So it's hard to really rate anything that he has done. And the fact that also, for a lot of tomato cans, even on his way to the UFC, his last 2 fights prior to entering the UFC were legit trash. Legit trash. You can't, there's no nice way to say it. The 2 guys he fought after losing to Lewis Teller were legit trash. Legit, what they call those sites where they dump doo-doo and dump, and they bury it. What's those things called? I can't even name it, but that's what those guys are. That's what they are. There's no nice way to say it. And then he beat a guy who was 1-3 in the UFC in Stolfoots. So yeah, he really ain't got nothing really back behind him. Don't really got experience going rounds. He showed he could be pretty aggressive. He showed that he can take out the trash. So good on him. He showed the ability to take out trash, but he has not shown any ability to fight elite guys. No track record of fighting elite guys. And I can see paths to victory for him. He's long. He has some decent kicks and some decent kick games. Maybe he could attack the legs of Sean Strickland. Maybe he could attack the body. Maybe get out Sean Strickland out in the first 2 rounds, maybe. But Strickland has shown to be tough. The only guy who finished him at this weight class is literally the man with deft touch. 2-division world champion in kickboxing. At pretty much the highest level you could get in kickboxing. 2-division champion. Got deft touch. And that's the guy who knocked him out. And actually truly a world-class kickboxer versus Abus Magomedov, who has no world-class anything in his whole life. So yeah, I just feel like Abus can start off pretty good, but again, Sean only having 2-round experience for the most part in his career. No 5-round experience. Going in there with a tough experience guy like Sean Strickland. I think Sean Strickland's going to be able to take him out those first 2 rounds and just really drown him. And I'm going to say actually put him out in the 3rd round. I think he's going to be able to stalk him. Maybe Abus Magomedov come out early with some steam, but Strickland going to defend well. And just constantly, he's going to come out and throw his shots. Strickland going to respond to everything he does. But obviously, intelligently respond to everything that Abus Magomedov does and then stay in his face, constantly keep tagging him, work around a jab. And Abus is going to start to wear down over the course of the fight. And I think Sean Strickland's going to start to turn on him. I think Abus going to fade real hard after that 2nd round or entering that 2nd round. And I think in the 3rd round, Strickland just not going to give him no room to breathe, stay in his face, tagging him. And Abus just going to wilt and get stopped in that 3rd round. So in this one, I have Sean Strickland via 3rd round TKO. And that concludes my fight predictions for the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Strickland versus Magomedov. And as always, thanks for watching.